You couldn't get a more one-sided fight if you paired an unhatched egg against 11 Mike Tysons. On paper, this seems like it should be a one-sided smackdown, with Superman easily ripping off the head of Batman and hurling it into the sun like a bomb Gibson fastball. But as many comic fans know, you can never count out Batman, because even though he is technically just flesh and blood, he has found a way to push his human biology to the point that no human has ever reached, even so far that he can kick some Kryptonian butt. Hello Top 10 Nerd family, I am your host Shade Arena, and for today's video we are going to be exploring the 10 times Batman destroyed Superman. As always nerds, I would love it if you could like, comment, subscribe, and hit the little notification bell, and stick around for the whole list because I'm going to be giving you guys my picks for my favorite non-DC, non-Marvel superhero video games. And without taking any longer, let's get into this list. Coming in at number 10, we have Justice League War. Now, even though DC hasn't been able to get their footing when it comes to live-action superhero movies, they definitely have made some amazing films in the animated world. And Justice League War is a reimagining of how the Justice League is formed in the fight against Darkseid. This movie starts without any of the heroes knowing each other, so they do that classic thing when a bunch of heroes end up in the same place and no one knows each other. They fight. Now, in this fight, Superman really does own Batman. Everything that Batman tries to throw at him gets stuffed without even coming close to slowing Superman down. So why did I put it on this list? Well, the thing that brings the fight to the end is right before Superman is about to punch the Dark Knight into another dimension, Batman calls out Superman by his real name, Clark Kent, stopping him dead in his tracks. This is what makes Batman so incredible. In this rendition of the DC universe, he was the first person in the world to figure out who Superman was, and through his powerful intellect, he took complete control of the situation. He had that trump card in his pocket the whole fight. So one could argue that the entire time Batman looks like he's getting owned was just him studying Superman so he could learn how to fight him better. He could have called this out at any point. Also, there's a reason why I put this one at number 10. It's because he kind of does get beat up. Coming in at number 9 is Batman vs Superman. Even though this movie was a massive stinky egg, it still had a Batman vs Superman fight that ended with Clark Kent begging for his life and asking Batman to save his mom in the infamous Martha scene. I'm looking past how much this movie missed the mark to highlight the fact that Superman came into this fight very unprepared and Batman was the complete opposite. He had the kryptonite dust to turn Superman into basically a regular person, and he laid into him with some iron-plated right hooks. This all capped off with a kryptonite spear that left a nice slice wound in Superman's face. Imagine how this movie would have ended if their moms had different names. Coming in at number 8, we have New 52 Batman, number 36. One of my favorite things in the DC universe is when Batman is forced to take on a group of heroes, especially when it's the Justice League. It's always interesting to see how the writers will create new ways for Batman to earn his keep amongst the gods. In this issue, members of the League have been turned into crazed Joker versions of themselves, and one by one they go toe-to-toe with Batman, each one of them unable to beat the Bat. Batman is able to pull this off through a giant mech suit that he's created just for this special occasion that has a specific tactic to beat each one of these heroes. Now, when Superman shows up, the mech suit reveals that it has microscopic red suns in the fists that will drain Soup's powers while he gets his head caved in. But the Man of Steel blasts past these fists, he pulls Bats from the mech and starts flying him into space. Right when it seems like there's no hope for our caped crusader, he spits a wad of kryptonite gum into Superman's face, giving Bats the last-minute victory. This one wasn't a destruction of Superman, but he had to fight the main members of the League beforehand, so I'm gonna give him this one. And the gum was such a cool Batman trick. Coming in at number 7, we have The Dark Knight Returns. This is probably the most iconic Batman vs Superman fight, mostly because it takes place in one of the greatest comic books of all time. In this, we have Superman in a very weakened state from stopping a nuke from crashing into the United States, and Batman is in the most old geezer state we have seen him outside of Batman Beyond. Batman really pulls out all the stops in this fight. He has the classic robotic batsuit that was stolen for that garbage fire movie Batman vs Superman. He has help from his newest Robin sidekick. He blasts Superman with an entire city worth of electricity, and he has Green Arrow hit Superman with a special kryptonite dust that took millions of dollars to make. This leaves Superman human, with Batman busting his face before he fakes his own death. Now, if we go back and watch this fight, yes, Superman is holding back the whole time, so it's hard to say Batman destroys him, but this had to be part of Batman's plan. He knew Clark would pull his punches against an old man and an old friend, thus leaving him vulnerable to the kryptonite dust attack. And in the end, Batman wasn't looking to kill Superman, he just wanted to send a message, which he definitely did. Coming in at number 6, we have Armageddon 2001. Let's mess around with timelines a little. Armageddon 2001 is an alternate future where Supes has gone rogue and starts killing off heroes left, right, and center, along with destroying any military defense in the world that might fight against him. This means that the president has one guy to turn to, and it's good old Batman. Batman again uses a superpowered suit, but this time he has kryptonite on hand from the get-go and really beats down Superman until he's literally green from kryptonite poisoning. Coming in at number 5, we have Injustice, an alternate universe fighting game where DC Universe characters throw down in matchups that don't make any sense, but it's still cool as hell. Yeah, sign me up. Not only are these games made by NetherRealm Studios, the same people who make the fantastic Mortal Kombat games, but the games actually have some of the best story modes in a fighting game ever. The game takes place in an alternate universe where Superman has gone rogue after Lois Lane is killed by the Joker. This causes him to become a tyrant, which eventually leads to a clash between him and Batman, where Batman whoops his butt and then locks him away in a Red Sun prison. Coming in at number 4, we have the Tower of Babel. Once again, breaking into the world of Batman, playing out how he would beat down every member of the League. In this wonderful comic, these contingency plans for taking out separate members of the League get into the wrong hands. And the plan to take out Superman is a secret new kryptonite that Batman has created. The crazy thing is about this new kryptonite, it doesn't make Superman weaker, it actually makes him stronger. This new kryptonite that Batman has cooked up makes Superman's skin translucent. This makes his ability to absorb solar energy increase to the point where Superman can no longer control his powers and becomes a threat to everyone around him. Eventually, this leads to Superman going into hiding. Now, this isn't a straight up fight, but Batman's plan worked flawlessly and he for sure destroyed Superman. Coming in at number 3, we have Superman Red Sun, a one-off comic that runs with the idea of what if Superman landed in the Soviet Union instead of America. This comic is amazing, and one of the best parts is when Russian Batman puts a beat down on Superman. He lures Superman into a trap that has him surrounded by red sun lights and then hits him with everything in the Krav Maga handbook. Superman actually almost dies in this fight, but then Wonder Woman swoops in to save the Blue Boy Scout from an early death, and then Batman actually commits suicide to avoid being caught. This would have probably been number 1 on the list if Batman didn't get help from Lex Luthor to pull off this plan. Coming in at number 2, we have The Dark Knight Strikes Again. This is the follow-up comic to the famous Dark Knight Returns, and I have to say, it's not as good, but it can be hard to follow up one of the best comics ever written. Well, in this comic, it has gone out that the Bat is back, and Superman goes to have a nice little chit-chat with him. Also, if you don't know, in this universe, Batman, along with a lot of the other heroes, are very old, and Superman and Batman aren't anywhere close to friends anymore. So when Superman shows up at the Batcave, Batman unloads a wagon of whooping on him. He has a series of devices set up in the cave that are just there to take down Superman. Flash and Green Arrow are both there to give Batman a helping hand at putting Superman down, and this is all topped off with one of the coolest Superman beating tools ever, Kryptonite gauntlets. This entire fight leaves Superman a bloody mess. And coming in at the number 1 spot is Injustice 2. So basically the same stuff is going on as Injustice 1, but this time we have even more heroes and villains, and Brainiac gets involved. Now, I will say that there are 2 endings to this game. One of them has Superman win and merge with Brainiac to become one of the most powerful beings in the universe, and he makes Batman his slave. But I put this as number 1 because if you make the choice to have Batman win, then Superman is depowered and Batman leaves him locked away in the Phantom Zone with no powers. Pretty much the biggest way you can destroy Superman. Alright everyone, that has been our list, and as promised, I'm going to give you guys my picks for my favorite non-DC, non-Marvel superhero games. First, I gotta pick Infamous, a series of games that has you running around as a superpowered 20-something with the weight of the world on your shoulders, and it is some of the best superhero gameplay that I have ever seen. The effects that your good and evil choices have on the world is extremely interesting, and in the most recent edition, you get to explore some interesting new powers like concrete and neon. After that, I have Saints Row 4. There was a time when Saints Row was just a Grand Theft Auto clone, but after the 3rd game, the franchise really took a turn for the strange, and in the best way. In the 4th game, you can explore a vast array of new powers and strange weapons, and there's even an expansion where you get to fight your way out of hell. And my final pick is Crackdown. Now, the first one of this 3-game series is my favorite, but really all of them are just dumb fun. The best part is you start off as this kind of scrawny super cop, and by the end of the game, you're a juiced up super cop with some very generic but extremely fun abilities. You mix that in with a host of Batman-esque vehicles and you have a great game. Alright everyone, that has been our list. As always, I would love it if you could like, comment, subscribe, and hit the little notification bell. Until next time, I've been your host, Shade Arena, and keep enjoying this nerdy content. Bye. Not only are these games made by NetherRealm Studios, the same people who make the